Chapter 3. An account of the pleasant method taken by Don Quixote to be dubbed a knight. Don Quixote's mind being disturbed with that thought, he abridged even his short supper, and as soon as he had done, he called his host, then shut him and himself up in the stable, and falling at his feet, "I will never rise from this place," cried he, "most valorous knight, till you have graciously vouchsafed to grant me a boon, which I will now beg of you, and which will redound to your honor and the good of mankind." The innkeeper, strangely at a loss to find his guest at his feet, and talking at this rate, endeavored to make him rise, but all in vain, till he had promised to grant him what he asked. "I expected no less from your great magnificence, noble sir," replied Don Quixote, "and therefore I make bold to tell you that the boon which I beg, and you generously condescend to grant me, is that tomorrow you'll be pleased to bestow the honor of knighthood upon me. This night I will watch my armor in the chapel of your castle, and then in the morning you shall gratify me, that I may be duly qualified to seek out adventures in every corner of the universe, to relieve the distressed, according to the laws of chivalry and the inclination of knights errant like myself." The innkeeper, who, as I said, was a sharp fellow, and had already a shrewd suspicion of his guest's disorder, was fully convinced of it when he heard him talk in this manner, and to make sport he resolved to humor him, telling him he was much to be commended for his choice of such employment, which was altogether worthy a knight of the first order, such as his gallant deportment discovered him to be, that he himself had in his youth followed that profession, ranging through many parts of the world in search of adventures, till at length he retired to his castle, where he lived on his own estate and those of others, entertaining all knights errant of what quality or condition soever, purely for the great affection he bore them, and to partake of what they might share with him in return. He added that his castle at present had no chapel where the knight might keep the vigil of his arms, and it being pulled down in order to be new built, but that he knew they might lawfully be watched in any other place in case of necessity. And therefore he might do it that night in the courtyard of the castle, and in the morning all the necessary ceremonies should be performed, that he might assure himself he should be dubbed a knight, nay, as much a knight as anyone in the world could be. He then asked Don Quixote whether he had any money. "Not a cross," replied the knight, "for I never read in any history of chivalry that any knight errant ever carried money about him." "You are mistaken," cried the innkeeper, "for admit the histories are silent in this matter, the authors thinking it needless to mention so evidently necessary as money and clean shirts. Yet there is no reason to believe the knights went without either, and you may rest assured that all knights errant, of whom so many histories are full, had their purses well lined to supply themselves with necessaries, and carried also with them some shirts, and a small box of salves to heal their wounds, for they had not the conveniency of surgeons to such a friend in former ages, the knights thought themselves obliged to take care that their squires should be provided with money and other necessaries. And if those knights ever happened to have no squires, which was but very seldom, then they carried those things behind them in a little bag. I must therefore advise you, continued he, never from this time forward to ride without money, nor without the other necessaries of which I spoke to you, which you'll never find very beneficial when you least expect it. Don Quixote promised to perform all his injunctions, and so they disposed everything in order, just watching his arms in the great yard. To which purpose the knight, having got them all together, laid them in a horse trough close by a well. Then, raising his target and grasping his lance, just as it grew dark, he began to walk about by the horse trough with graceful deportment. In the meanwhile, the innkeeper acquainted all of those who were in the house with the extravagancies of his guest, his watching, his arms, and his hopes of being made a knight. They all marveled very much at so strange a kind of folly, and went on to observe him at a distance, where they saw him sometimes walk about with a great deal of gravity, and sometimes lean on his lance, with his eyes all the while fixed upon his arms. It was now undoubted night, but yet the moon did shine with such a brightness as might almost have vied with that of the luminary which lighted her, so that the knight was wholly exposed to the spectator's view. While he was thus employed, one of the carriers who lodged in the inn came out to water his mules, which he could not do without removing the arms out of the trough. With that, Don Quixote, who saw him make towards them, cried out to him aloud, "O thou, whoever thou art, rash knight, that preparest to lay thy hands on the arms of the most valorous knight errant that ever wore a sword, take heed, do not audaciously attempt to profane them with a touch, lest instant death be too sure reward for thy temerity." But the carrier regarded not these threats, and laying hold of the armor without any more ado, threw it a good way from him, though it had been better for him to have let it alone, for Don Quixote had no sooner saw this, but lifting up his eyes to heaven, and thus addressing his thoughts, as it seemed to his lady Dulcinea, "Assist me, lady," cried he, "in the first opportunity that offers itself to your faithful slave, nor let your favor and protection be denied me in this first trial of my valor." Repeating such like ejaculations, he let slip his target, and lifting up his lance with both his hands, he gave the carrier such a terrible knock on his inconsiderate head with his lance that he laid him at his feet in a woeful condition. And he had backed that blow with another, the fellow would certainly have no need for a surgeon. This done, Don Quixote took up his armor, laid it again in the horse trough, and then walked on backwards and forwards with as great concern as he did at first. Soon after, another carrier, not knowing what had happened, came also to water his mules, while the first yet lay on the ground in a trance. But as he offered to clear the trough of the armor, Don Quixote, without speaking a word, also made yet more noise, calling them false and treacherous villains. And the lord of the castle base and unhospitable, and a discourteous knight, for suffering a knight errant to be so abused. I would make thee know, cried he, what a perfidious wretch thou art, had I but received the order of knighthood. But for you, base, ignominious rabble, fling on till your worst. Come on, draw nearer if you dare, and receive the reward of your indiscretion and insolence. This he spoke with so much spirit and undauntedness that he struck a terror into all his assailants, so that, partly through fear and partly through the innkeeper's persuasions, they gave over flinging stones at him, and he, on his side, permitted the enemy to carry off their wounded, and then returned to the guard of his arms as calm and composed as before. The innkeeper, who began somewhat to disrelish these mad tricks of his guest, resolved to dispatch him forthwith and bestow on him that unlucky knighthood, to prevent farther mischief. So coming to him, he excused himself for the insolence of those base scoundrels, as being done without his privity or consent, but their audaciousness, he said, was sufficiently punished. He added that he had already told him that there was no chapel in his castle, and that indeed there was no need of one to finish the rest of the ceremony of knighthood, which consisted only in the application of the sword to the neck and the shoulders, as he had read in the register of the ceremonies of the order, and that this might be performed as well in a field as anywhere else, that he had already fulfilled the obligation of watching his arms, which required no more than 2 hours' watch, whereas he had been 4 hours upon the guard. Don Quixote, who easily believed him, told him he was ready to obey him, and desired him to make an end of the business as soon as possible. For if he were but knighted, and should see himself once attacked, he believed he should not leave a man alive in the castle, except those whom he should desire him to spare for his sake. Upon this, the innkeeper, lest the knight should proceed to such extremities, fetched a book in which he used to set down the carrier's accounts for straw and barley, and having brought with him the 2 kind females already mentioned, and a boy that held a piece of lighted candle in his hand, he ordered Don Quixote to kneel, then reading in his manual, as if he had been repeating some pious oration. In the midst of his devotion, he lifted up his hand and gave him a good blow on the neck, and then a gentle slap on the back with the flat of his sword, still mumbling some words between his teeth in the tone of a prayer. After this, he ordered one of the ladies to gird the sword about the knight's waist, which she did with much solemnity, and, I may add, discretion, considering how hard a thing it was to forbear laughing at every circumstance of the ceremony. It is true, the thoughts of the knight's late prowess did not a little contribute to the suppression of her mirth. As she girded on his sword, "Heaven," cried the kind lady, "make your worship a lucky knight, and prosper you wherever you go." Don Quixote desired to know her name, that he might understand to whom he was indebted for the favor she had bestowed upon him, and also make her partake of the honor he was to acquire by the strength of his arm, to which the lady answered with all humility, that her name was Tolosa, a cobbler's daughter, that kept a stall among the little shops of Sancho Benaya at Toledo, and that whenever he pleased to command her, she would be his humble servant. Don Quixote begged of her to do him the favor to add hereafter the title of lady to her name, and for this sake to be called from that quest of adventures. Therefore, having immediately saddled his Rosinante and been mounted, he embraced the innkeeper and returned him so many things at so extravagant a rate, for the obligation he had laid upon him in dubbing him a knight, and it is impossible to give a true relation of them all, to which the innkeeper, in haste to get rid of him, returned as a rhetorical though shorter answers, and without stopping, his horse, with the reckoning, was glad with all his heart to see him go. That concludes chapter